Alright. Here's 3 different types of snowshoes. 2 modern ones, and here's an old set of snowshoes that belong to my father. I actually took this off my wall because I have them on display at my house. These are some pretty cool old mittens, fleece-lined mittens. I've been looking at these snowshoes for years. He had them down in the basement, and that leather has got some white stuff. This harness, it's got some white stuff that comes to the surface, but it doesn't seem to really, the leather's not damaged, and I think you could put these things back in service. It wipes right off with a damp rag or with your touch, and the leather seems to be in good condition. I have worn these. We had a really bad snowstorm one year, and I was snowed in. Everybody was shut down, and I put these babies on and headed down to the grocery store, and it was pretty amazing. They were very difficult to use, these snowshoes. I was going through deep snow. It was a lot of work, an awful lot of work. Really intricate. I don't know if that's sinew or leather or something artificial. These are Army surplus. There's a date on it here that says 1942? There it is, 1942. Anyhow, enough of that nostalgic stuff. Let's start looking at the meat of the presentation here. Alright, the first thing I want to do is weigh both of these snowshoes and see how that comes out. I'm just going to set it on the scale this way, and it says 1 pound 15 ounces. Yeah, that way it's not leaning on anything. Okay, we'll take the right foot of the tubs. It's on the scale, not touching anything, and it comes in at 1 pound 12.5 ounces. I think we have everything I need to do this. We've got the MSR Lightning, and we've got the Tubs Sojourn. So what I'm going to do, these are a pair of Red Wing boots. They have a safety toe on them. It's fiberglass. It doesn't make my foot cold. It holds its shape. They seem to be warm, and I'm going to use that for demonstration purposes. I think before you leave to go snowshoeing, you should do what we're going to do right now to make sure that you get them fit to the snowshoe properly. You don't want to be fiddling around out there in the snow with cold weather as little as possible, because your hands get cold and it just takes away from the whole experience. So, first thing we're going to do, we're going to decide if there's a right and a left, and there is just a slight bend in this tub. So let's start with the tubs right here. This design, there's not as many moving parts, which less parts to move is less complicated, but it can sometimes be a little bit more of a struggle. What we're going to do is, there's a little bit more of a bend on this side. We're going to say this is your left foot, and we're going to take our left boot. We're going to stick it in all the way. I was walking earlier this morning, and I didn't have these very tight, and I was catching on every time I take a step. This piece of plastic was going forward because it pivots back and forth, and it was catching over here, and it was making a noise. So I didn't have it tight enough. It was very cold out. It was less than 10 degrees, and I was struggling with it. When you set up your boot, you want the ball of your foot to be at the pivot point on the snowshoe, and make sure that there's plenty of clearance all the way around. Nothing's banging or touching into anything. How tight you get it is up to you. I was thinking it might be worth it to take a hair dryer and try to heat this up a little bit to help it form. I wouldn't use flame or too much heat, but just something so that it has a natural lift and bend to it, I think it will help me in the long run. Your mileage may differ. You take the chances you want with your stuff, and I'll do the same with mine. Now, if you get them really tight, you may start having trouble getting your foot in and out of it when you're on the trail. And you will be taking these snowshoes on and off while you're out on the trail. It just seems like there's, depending on what side of the hill, if you're in the sun or if you're in the shadows, how much snow there is and whether or not you really need them. Because it is going to be a lot more tiring to wear snowshoes than without them. Now, you've got your toe section, you got your pivot in the right spot. Now we're going to turn around and look at the heel. The heel, they all use the same type of system, although this one doesn't release completely. It stays as a loop, it goes where it belongs, and it doesn't, there's no chance of getting a twist in it because it comes together. Then you pull it back tight, and you'll get the little, it'll protrude through the hole, makes complete sense. Then this piece here just kind of holds it in place. I thought maybe it would be more important to have that closer so that it made the notch. Or why didn't they give me two of them? One to hold it in place here and one to catch on there. Doesn't seem to be a big issue, and I think you just need to find the spot that works best for you. And it just seems to grip just fine, works fine. I've walked a half a mile at a time in them. Doesn't sound very far, but when you're in snowshoes, you're in the mountains, that's a lot of walking, and you don't want to be struggling and fiddling around with snowshoes when you're on the trail and you're trying to go someplace and your foot is going under the snow. Last thing you want is your snowshoe to start coming loose and having to fiddle with it with cold hands and possibly a pack on your back. That's takes some of the fun away from the experience. So this type of snowshoe, the tubs, you've got a little bit larger cleats, you've got the round tube. All your traction, or the majority of your traction, I would want to say, is going to be from these steel cleats. Now, if you look at the size and the depth of that, I think you actually have to pick your foot up a little bit further and put it down. It just feels like it when I'm walking with it that I'm scooping a little bit more snow. I have to pick my foot up. I have to move my foot further, and that uses a little bit more energy. Although it's a great system, and it seems to work. I picked these up at a garage sale. Got a heck of a deal on them, I thought. The guy said he only used them once, and the paint's hardly even chipped off of them. And you will find times when you're walking across a parking lot or by a trailhead that there's a provision to sit down and put your snowshoes on, and that's really a good idea, because if you can get comfortable and really get these things into position before you start, you shouldn't have to mess with them too much. And everything kind of stays flexible. It's okay to let this stuff flop. I've found it's not going to stay wherever you put it. You don't want to tie it in knots up here because that's going to release it. What you want to do is keep it down low, if anything, and they don't provide you a spot. Maybe you could tuck it underneath here and bring it back up. That will keep the tabs down. It won't change the adjustment on you. Just try it, see how you like it. It might not be an issue at all. Okay, so let's go look at the next one, the MSR. Okay, we're going to use the right boot and the right one. This does not really have a toe profile on it. It looks the same on both sides, and you've got the loose side you want to the outside. You don't want this to the inside so that the straps are hooking on each other and flopping each other as you're walking. So put that to the outside. Again, you want to take the ball of your foot, put it towards the front. Maybe put your toe strap in first. Now this has an open clasp, which allows you to probably quick release. It might even give you more advantage when you're putting it on because you're not trying to work so many things at once. It's one item. You get your foot where it's comfortable, rocks back and forth, and you lock that first one in. Then you might want to decide, and there's no for sure way on this that I know of. Then you might want to do your heel second, and it's the same type as with the tubs. Seems like all the manufacturers use this style. It must be good, and I trust their engineering. I've had the MSR longer, and I loved them. Actually, I only bought the tubs because I saw them, and I thought that'd be a great backup pair or loaners for somebody who's coming along, and that type of thing. I'm going to be definitely trying those out in the field more. Okay, the next one I'm going to do is I'm going to take the middle one, and I'm going to come over. I'm going to do the same thing. Pull it over, catch it in the hole, find a halfway spot over here. You don't want to have these too close. I don't think it's going to be, because you don't want these flopping around. They're going to catch on your pant legs or something. Maybe brush if you're going in through the woods. I think it's kind of like the halfway point. Keeps this settled down, the loose end, and is close enough where the hasp doesn't come apart. If you tighten her down and put a little tension on it, this has got a little bit more silicone than this nylon strap, and it seems to have a little bit more of a spring to it, and it works real good even in cold weather. Now, here's an example of why I don't like the loose straps. What did I do? I did not do this intentionally, but I'm going to show it to you, because what I did was grab the wrong strap. Maybe that's not a bad idea. You know, never thought about it. Maybe you could cross them. There's a thought. Never occurred to me before. I always figured 1, 2, 3. I never tried crossing them. Maybe it's not as big an issue as I thought. But I always, in the times I've worn them, without having any issues, I went 1, 2, 3 in the same order. Maybe it's not that big a deal. But you can't make that mistake on this type of a binding. So, I don't know. I'll have to keep that in mind. Never was an issue on the trail. Just now seeing that for the first time. Maybe it's not an issue at all. But the point I want to make is you have options. Now, I suppose if you break one of these, that would also be an option. You could use a different one in its place. If you lost the first one, maybe you could take one of these other off and put it on there as a temporary fix. So they do make repair kits for most of the major brands, and I would recommend purchasing those online or from a store that carries them, so that or a rental place. They probably have to do repairs on them all the time. You hate to have to make repairs in the field. Even if you took some paracord with you that you could tie something down, you could cut them off when you got back to your vehicle or back to camp at the end of the day. Be better than using your shoelaces. And it's important to have the shoes secured to each other, so that when you're moving around in the forest, your shoe, when you're stepping over branches and fallen trees and logs, you don't want your snowshoe flopping around. This is the superior advantage to having these modern snowshoes. Those big snowshoes, boy, you could run a tree branch right up through them and ruin them in a heartbeat. That's why I don't use them anymore. They have too much sentimental value. So anyhow, give you some options there. The MSR has this extra feature that I have used once. It was real easy to do in the field with gloves on. You could lift it up, and this is when you're going up a steep ascent, which we do get frequently in Colorado. It's not as tiring on your foot. You're not having to move your foot as much, and you can rest, your heel rests on this loop. Once you get to the top, just lean forward, reach down, and it puts down and it stays down. It doesn't seem to become a problem. It doesn't get tangled up. It doesn't get iced up. It stays flexible. This is real flexible. I like the way it seems to be a lower profile on the bottom. If you're looking at the two, you see what I'm talking about with the lower profile. I don't think you have to pick your foot up as high with the MSR if you're on hard-packed ice or in snow on a trail, which less energy. If you have to pick your foot up less, you're not using as much energy. So, all right, let's take them outside. Do this in the snow. Alrighty, it's above zero. Got the walk done. Okay, we're outside, across the street, out on a lake. I hope that you can hear me. It got rather slick the farther out into the lake that I got because there's just a couple inches of snow on top of the ice. And you always think of snowshoes for deep powdered snow, but it's not necessarily the case. If you're walking along a river or any kind of hard pack, even in a snowshoeing area, popular snowshoeing areas where you have to stay on a trail, you'll be glad that you have the snowshoes on because you can slip slide around. This ice right now is especially treacherous, and it occurred to me as I came over here that I think what I'll do for a demonstration is I'll put a different kind of snowshoe on each foot. That way you can watch me struggle with the snaps and you'll see the difference. And I forgot my mittens at home. My hands are already getting cold. We'll check the thermometer when we get back to the house, but it's definitely below freezing and kind of a real world situation here. So let's go ahead and get started. I am wearing gaiters. I like to wear gaiters year round. Keeps the snow, the wet, keeps my pant legs dry and critters from crawling up my pant legs. Okay, I don't think it really makes a difference one way or the other. We just want to get the right on the right and the left on the left. So I'm going to use one to kneel on, keep my foot dry. And I'm going to open the heel up. We're starting off with the Tubbs Sojourn. And I had these set up on these boots just a few minutes ago inside the house. And struggling to get them on because those are tight fitting. And I didn't want to have to mess with them out here in the snow. And I'm having trouble. There we go. Okay. So all the straps are in position. I hope you were timing that. And we're going to get the hole. Okay. Got the hole in. Got the hook slid around the back. Got it dropped down into spade into place. I'm going to leave these straps just flopping loose. I suppose you could tuck them in, but my fingers are getting cold. Alright, on the left foot, we'll do the MSR. Now, they have open loops, as you'll recall. I'm going to just leave these front ones open. I'm going to put my ball of my foot on the pivot point. Put that foot back. Start with the first one over my toe. Pull it tight, lock it under the groove. I think the important thing is here, with gloves on and extremely cold weather, having these loose ends seems a little bit easier on the MSR, but ease of putting on doesn't mean anything if they don't stay on and stay tight. I went one notch tighter than what we had in the house. Working around my gators. So, 2 different snowshoes. Alright. Let's just do a little short walk. Like I say, this isn't real deep snow, but I noticed walking out here from the shore, I just about slipped and fell a couple of times because it's glare ice underneath the snow, of course. See what I mean about the noise? Now if we find some deeper snow, that goes away. I can feel under the ball of my foot on the tubs because it sticks up higher. It's a lower profile on the MSR. I'm going to put you back in the stand, and then my hands are getting really cold. Let's see how they are to take them off. There's only one quick release, and that's for the heel. That's completely loose. It's off. Now the MSR. Now the heel. Left the toes alone, but those would have come unstrapped real easy. Easy jeezy. Holy smokes, it's cold out here, folks. We'll be going up there to those mountains soon. Which snowshoe is the one for you? I don't think you can go wrong with either one of them, and I know some people hate to hear a review on that. They want to hear a solid, this one is superior, that one is superior, but I think more than anything, it depends on what you get used to. It depends on what you've had in the past. If you're just starting out, you don't have anything to compare it to, I don't think you can go wrong with either one, because you're going to get used to the little nuances of the brand that you have, the ones that you wear. I guess I haven't done enough snowshoeing to put enough miles on to wear a set out and have failures with them, but I did purchase those MSR snowshoes first after going out with somebody else and having, I don't remember the brand, but they were of lesser quality. I found myself sliding downhill. There wasn't enough traction to hold me back, and both of these that I showed you today were designed to give you that extra traction. The tubs has a little bit smaller, and I think I said in the video they were steel cleats. They're not steel, they were aluminum or some type of alloy, and you probably would have to pick up and put down a little bit higher. We're talking, what, half an inch, a little lower profile, but the little things, after a while, they start to add up. I think the binders, the harness that keeps your foot in them, you know, they're totally different from each other. But again, it's muscle memory. It's what you get used to fiddling with. You're going to become faster with it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I appreciate your coming along, and thanks for watching. Thanks for subbing. Easy Jeezy out.